How's that for the name of the song? Sippin' on Fire, Florida Georgia Line. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of AM Minnesota. Travis Block is with us. He is the Public Works Director for the city of Faribault, and we really appreciate his coming in today, especially on short notice. So thanks, Travis.
Yeah, thank you, Gordy. Thank you for having me today.
Very much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, the Public Works Department, I was just looking at the city's website to see all the things you guys do. Wow, you got to be a pretty versatile person to head that department.
Thank you. Yes, there's a few things like you said going on there. If you're looking on that list, one of the things that comes to mind, a lot of folks that have probably one of the most interaction with is streets. You know, we're all traveling around, going somewhere to and from the community, so that's one of the large areas that is in the Public Works Department. And then, of course, not far behind that, you have utilities. Water, wastewater, stormwater, collection system to get everything to the treatment destination there. So, yeah, so those are two of the great big things, I guess, the large scale
I'll
stuff.
bet it's what you love about your job, though. You get a lot of variety.
Absolutely. Previously, I was at the wastewater facility for many years there, about 15 years, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. But I do enjoy the diversity and of this position and the interaction with folks that I get to have on a daily basis in various aspects and components of this public works
Now,
field.
we were just talking about the airport, one of the places that's under your department, right?
Correct.
The airport. And I was asking how it compares to Owatonna's. He says it's a little bit smaller in terms of runway length.
That is correct. I believe Owatonna's is approximately 5,500 feet long, and their runway in length, and ours is about just under 4,300. So smaller, a little bit smaller aircraft. Use our facility. That type of a facility in Owatonna get a little bit bigger business jet type travel is what typically they would see in a facility like that.
And that's what you have, too.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do see some smaller jets, and then some twin engine planes and such like that. But yeah, a lot of the smaller jet craft, the larger jet craft need that longer runway for takeoff and landing.
And I remember a number of years back that the National Guard was looking at placing a facility. They wanted it near the metro, but not in the metro. And I seem to recall that, maybe, well, Faribault was mentioned anyway, but I think it went to St. Cloud eventually.
Yes, I believe they do have a big facility there in St. Cloud that is a National Guard related airfield.
Which is kind of a bummer because I was thinking that would have been nice. Faribault would have been able to catch on to that baby.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's how the world goes. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about streets. I was telling you before we hit the airwaves here, I live on 7th Street, which was kind of a mess there for a couple of weeks, but it's going to be back to normal, you said.
That is correct. Yes, that was one of our routes. That was part of our annual seal coating program. So what happens there is oil and rock mixture is applied to the road to extend the pavement life cycle in between overlays. So try to extend that pavement life. So yes, we recently completed that here this last week with the sweeping up of the remaining rock that doesn't adhere down to the surface. So you will hopefully not see that for quite some time now.
Yep, and it's a major street too. Remember, I used to tell my brother when he come down to visit my mom that that's the best way to go. She lived up at Pleasant View Estates.
Okay.
If you go on 7th Street, you avoid any stoplights.
That is
Whereas
correct.
if you go to 4th Street, you're going to be a stoplight city. So
Correct.
I don't know if you ever took my advice, but that's the suggestion I made to him. Anyway, we're going to visit more with Travis. We'll touch on some other topics. By the way, if you have any questions, you can certainly give us a phone call because we would love to hear what you might be interested in. But we're going to talk a little bit about the utilities and other items that after this.
Work hard for your money and deserve the protection provided by the Security State Bank.
Yeah, the only thing I have on that
Security
is
isn't just their name,
with
it's a way
the type
of
of the
doing
oil
business through their
that we
membership
use,
in the
that
Federal
they-
Deposit Insurance
they
Corporation, or FDIC.
practice to
Did you
leave
know
it
not a
on
single
for
penny
X
has
number of
ever been
days to
lost
get,
in an
because
FDIC
as you
insured
get that
account
rock
since they began in
shifting and moving,
1934?
I mean, it will
won't
still
find
drive in
that
there and
guarantee
pack
with a
in.
myriad of other investment opportunities.
And then also, so
Knowing
when you
the money
sweep
will
it
be
up,
there
you
when
don't
need
pull it
provides
off
a peace of mind
right
that's
away.
hard to put a price on. Get the details from the Security State Bank of Kenya, member FDIC, and equal house.
Security State Bank of Kenyon bringing you our AM Minnesota program all this week. The most time will be spent at the Goodhue County Fair. Tomorrow through Friday we'll be at the Goodhue County Fair in Zumbrota. Today we're visiting with Public Works Director for the City of Faribault, Travis Block. We're talking a bit about the city infrastructure, about various departments that he oversees, and we did have a listener call in during the break and wanted to know why the gravel was left so long on 7th Street.
Now, with the rock there that was put down, the reason why it stays on for X number of days, and I don't have it. Apologize, I don't have that actual
formula or something
with me here today. But to make sure we get proper adhesion of the rock to the oil, binding to the surface of the road with the type of oil that we use. Some oil types you're able to just put that down and pick it up right away, but the type of oil that we use, we'd like to have that down there for a little bit to get adhesion, because if we go to sweep it up right away, you could pull up, kind of basically some of what you put down. So.
And I'm assuming the other oil that does come up right away is a lot more expensive.
There is a cost difference. There's also some hazardous material regulations with it. The product that we use is not classified as a hazardous material because it's an emulsion solution. So it's all oil that's cut with water versus the other materials that are out there. There is a cost difference associated with those.
Having been with the water area prior to becoming the Public Works Director, is that still kind of your baby? You still enjoy doing that more than any of the other areas?
Well, wastewater was where I came out of. Yeah, I mean it's where I started. So there's things there that are close to your heart, so to speak, and you're kind of fond of. But I enjoy, like I said prior, I enjoy the variety. I'm the type of person I always like learning. I like expanding and growing. So that's the one thing that I like about the position that I alluded to a little bit earlier, is that variety. So some of the areas maybe where I don't have as much expertise, so to speak, it's been fun to learn and to grow and try to work through some of those challenges in there. But yeah, I get a little partial to the wastewater side.
And I'm sure that you have a great staff that you can lean on for some of the areas that you're not as well versed in.
Absolutely. I'm very fortunate that all my staff is fantastic. The superintendents that I have been around for a long time, 40 years. The amount of knowledge that they all have, Dwayne with the streets, Dennis with the water, and Henry at the wastewater. It's tremendous to be able to just be able to rely on those folks for day-to-day operations. I know that they know what needs to be done, and they can execute it.
Well, I know that now. You have to refresh my memory. A couple of years ago, we had some flooding issues. You guys built up, some berm to not allow the flooding to get into the wastewater treatment plant. And if I remember right, they wouldn't let you keep this up. You had to tear it down.
That is correct. We installed that temporary berm at the time to try and mitigate any flood conditions or worsened flood conditions that we would have encountered that spring. But that was funded then by FEMA for that, and part of their protocol is that you needed to return the area to pre-existing conditions. So therefore, we had to take it out.
So next time it floods, you're gonna have to put up a temporary berm again.
If we so choose to do that, that is correct. We are looking at. I've been talking, and I need to have further conversation with the administrator and city engineer at possibly constructing something more on a permanent basis going forward for that, to try and mitigate that. Something that we could put in, leave in.
Something like, I don't know if it need to be as big a deal as, Rochester has a major, because they had a major flood back in the, 70s?
Yeah, Mankato has one like that too along Minnesota.
Nothing like that would be needed here, right?
No, we wouldn't be looking at something like that, but something of a permanent concrete structure of some sort.
Yeah, just to keep the water away.
Correct.
Which kind of makes sense. Who wants water there? And the other thing that I think that's interesting is they talked about moving the fields from Teepee Tonka Park, which floods whenever we get a lot of rain, right? and FEMA wouldn't allow that either. You wanted to move it to higher ground, so they'd rather pay every time it floods.
Yeah, they have their set of rules, and that's what we operate under.
Yeah, I scratch my head quite often when I hear some of this stuff. Anyway, the airport. Since 1947, the airport's been here in Faribault, and of course that's a year before KDHR went on the airwaves. It's a long time ago, 1947.
Yeah.
And I know they're talking about maybe a Liz Strofus airport. Has that been finished yet? Or is it still in the process?
Yes, I'm still in the process of working with a group to develop a resolution to rename that after her and honor her and to honor her achievements and contributions to the aviation world. So yes, it's very I think it's a very fitting renaming, and I'm very excited to see that through.
The only bummer is we didn't do it while she was still with us. You know, she would have got a kick out of that.
Correct.
No one lives. I was just cleaning my desk the other day, and I came across a picture she signed for me.
Oh, neat.
And so I'm going to get that framed and put it up in my house. Liz was a good friend, good person. So she's the perfect person to name that airport after.
Absolutely.
I think. That was just my editorial for the day, I guess, here on AM Minnesota. What else do we want to touch on?
One thing we can touch on a little bit is the compost facility.
Oh, sure.
You know, we got that down at the wastewater treatment plant there on 14th Street. Yard waste, that's something that's quite busy. A lot of folks frequent that. You can haul your yard waste, clippings, as we're coming into fall here, leaves, branches. That's open on Mondays and Wednesdays and Saturdays. On Monday and Wednesdays from 1 to 7, and then on Saturday 8 to 4. And
that's free.
That is correct. There's no additional charge for that, and that information is on the City of Faribault's website, along with a lot of other useful information, not just only on the Public Works page, but the homepage has various events that are upcoming, things that residents want to be informed about. So it's a great wealth of information and knowledge. Just recently went through an upgrade here. It's got a lot of stuff on it. Highly recommend to go on and check that out, and kind of just walk yourself around that and see what you can find on it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to navigate.
That is correct. It's a very user-friendly format.
They did a very nice job on that website. So, I think last time we visited, we talked about the former three-way stop down here.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I told you I'm not really in love with. I think it was better the way it was, because when you're turning, taking a left out of there, you're turning right into traffic.
Yes, that I did not have any experience or exposure to that. Perhaps Tim Murray, city engineer,
I was
working with MnDOT.
Try and get Tim on.
He'd talk to you a little bit more about that.
Because one of the city officials told me that MnDOT wanted to round them out there. And everybody who listens to this show knows how much I hate roundabouts.
Not a fan.
No, not a fan of running. I'm not a fan. Especially the double ones on Mankato. The 2-lane ones.
Yes, they've recently put in, I see those. Those are busy.
First time I went in there was a lady on her cell phone texting while she's trying to go into this. That was the first time I went into the 2-lane roundabout in Mankato, so I just slowed down and let her do her thing. She wasn't paying any attention.
Try to just stay out of the way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are really crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a big roundabout fan. Anyway, if you have a question, you can text us too, folks. I forgot to give that, and it's probably the easiest way. 507-838-5233 is the phone number. 507-838-5233 if you'd like to text a question to the Public Works Director for the City of Faribault, Travis Block. How long have you had that title, Travis?
It will be 4 years in about a couple months, so I think in November officially. As I started that role, my prior role was at the wastewater plant. Started that in '98. So.
And for 4 years now, you've been the Public Works Director.
That is correct.
Obviously, you enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Or you wouldn't still be with us. Utilities, I know we had some problems with the readings on the water, the remote but that's all been fixed.
Yeah, the water meter.
The remote readings.
Yeah, there was just right when I assumed this role, it was kind of going through that. So there was some overread conditions that were a result of some water meters and conditions of our water, kind of some properties, some physical properties of our water that those two didn't get along. So yeah, but that's been taken care of.
And naturally, there's a lot of lead in the water, right? Here in Faribault.
No, there's not a lot of lead. There's high iron and manganese in our water, which is not unique, specifically to Faribault per se. It's kind of a condition it's present throughout the region, but we do monitor in accordance to the Minnesota Department of Health for lead, so that those levels are monitored. But the main thing that is, like I said, our water is high in iron and manganese. So, and it's a very hard water source as well.
Which is normal for this part of the country.
That is correct. That is correct. It's nothing abnormal for this part of the country.
So how do you adjust all that?
The only way you can adjust for iron and manganese is to treat water, which we do not operate a treatment facility for water, and then hardness is addressed with softening, as in the individual home. There is large-scale softening operations, but in Faribault, if someone would so choose to soften their water, that would be with a softener.
Otherwise, you live with the hard water, you're saying?
That is correct.
Fluoride?
Yes, we do add fluoride to the water. Again, that's under state in the Safe Drinking Water Act. We've recently reduced that a little bit. The state recently has allowed municipalities to decrease that amount, just because we're in contact with fluoride more. There's fluoride rinses. There's those type of things that weren't around perhaps back when the original regulations were made. So that was able to reduce a little bit. So we've adhered to that. We applied for a variance to decrease that, and then that also then saves a little bit of funding. Gives a little cost break there because you're not buying as much chemical.
Is it pretty spendy? Fluoridation of water?
I don't know the exact price per gallon, but it was substantial enough to, it saved us, I think, approximately $3,000 to $5,000 by reducing that annually.
Oh, okay. It's not as expensive as I thought it would be.
But it was a very minimal decrease, so it wasn't a very, it wasn't really broad, but
sure.
But every little bit counts.
And that's required by the state, you say, to fluoridate the water?
That is correct. It's part of the Safe Drinking Water Act. It's a requirement.
Public Works Director Travis Block from the city of Faribault is with us today. He's in charge of a lot of the infrastructure around the city. In terms of our streets, they are obviously pretty old too, for the most part, right?
Yes, there's a lot of old parts of town, as they say. I mean, some of the stuff dating back just pre-1900s and all the way up to anything that's just recently been constructed. So, city engineer Tim Murray does an excellent job of keeping a maintenance schedule, replacement schedule. So he looks at a life cycle of the street, and then that's where that seal coating, overlaying, seal coating, and then eventually reconstruction comes into play as he takes a look at that. And, streets are plugged in there, and that's how it determines on what year we're going to seal coat streets, and then what year that he does overlays, and then eventually after so many years a reconstruction takes place where all the utilities and everything are replaced.
You know how many miles of street we have there in Faribault?
And off the top of my head, I do not know. I can't remember. I thought at one time I had something that was around 115 lane miles, or center line miles, I believe.
Just think about that. 115 miles. Of course, it won't be too long. People are probably going to throw darts at me for saying this, but it won't be too long and we'll be removing snow from those streets. And I have to tell you, Travis, I think I've told you this before. I've lived in a few cities, North Platte, Nebraska, Ottumwa, Iowa, DeSoto, Missouri. I've lived in a few towns in the Midwest. Faribault by far has the best snow removal of the towns I've lived in.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, our staff prides on doing an excellent job. I concur with that statement. I've lived in a couple cities, and the staff does a fantastic job of snow removal, and that comes back to having a great staff. Folks are experienced; they know what they're doing. Um, it's they're efficient. Yeah, it's good feedback to hear that. So again, thank you.
Well, it's even better than major cities. You know what I'm saying? St. Paul is not the best at removing snow. My opinion. This is my opinion.
Yeah. That some challenges can come into play in some of those larger areas. You got a lot more folks interacting and people trying to do things and go here and do that. So it all adds up and is plugged into the equation.
But for the most part, before the end of the day, you get a snowstorm, you'll be able to get back on the street by your house.
That is correct. That's our goal, is to try and minimize folks' downtime and allow them safely to travel to their destination.
Are there things that I can do and other homeowners can do to assist you guys in your job? I know you're not supposed to put snow on the street. That's one thing.
That is correct. It's just probably one of the biggest things is adhering to the snow emergency declarations when those come into play. Simple things such as your trash containers, the refuse receptacles, like keeping those out of the street when that happens. When a snow event, at all times they should be, kind of maybe in your driveway apron or boulevard. That's the best place for those, so that allows for a little bit more expedient removal of that snow. Allows that plow operator to just continue through a straight path versus trying to swerve things and whatnot. So those are a couple things that would help things out.
I would guess you didn't have to use a lot of chemical or anything last winter, because we didn't have much of a winter, frankly, in terms of snowstorms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was kind of an average winter. We order every year. We do order about 500 tons of road salt. Then obviously anything that doesn't get used, we have a fantastic facility where we can store our products. So we kind of carry over, and we like to do that. Obviously, going into the next year, have that, but we utilize a sand salt mixture, about a 4-to-1 ratio with sand to salt. So it just all depends on what comes. A lot where you can use a lot of chemical can come around when you get a lot of those just almost nuisance events, where it's just a little dusting, a light sleety type thing. That's when you can really start getting into the chemical, where you're not removing it with physical means, but you need that chemical to bite that in to keep things safe, to keep roadways safe, keep intersections as clear as you can, and minimize that.
By the way, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you this, because I saw where one of the Twin Cities suburbs was talking about having their utility department start with internet service, which I found kind of interesting. I don't remember which suburb it was, but the utility department was going to pick that up so that we could have internet service everywhere in the city.
Yeah, really.
Because there are dead spots in this community, not this community, but the community I'm talking about. My guess is there's never been any thought about doing that here in Faribault, because you don't want to put private business out of business.
Yeah, I have not heard of or have any experience with anything like that.
I found that very interesting. So, Travis, we sure appreciate you coming in. Again, if you have a question, I do have a couple minutes left that I could sneak in a question here. Oh my, we're getting all kinds of stuff here on Twitter, but nothing related to what we're talking about. The phone number again is 507-838-5233, 507-838-5233. Is there something I didn't touch on that maybe you want to get the word out on to our listeners here today?
Let's see. We recently, this spring, we completed a stormwater project out on 30th Street. It's a rain garden installation that we were participant in with some grant funding. So if you're ever out in that area, you can check it out. It's down in the ditch there, kind of north of the cemetery, on the south side of 30th Street there.
Sure.
But, so it's kind of a neat project. We had a bunch of volunteers helped install that on a Saturday, and it went really well. So you get a chance, stop out, check that
Is
out.
this something when the general public came to you and said we'd like to do this, or did?
It was an effort that our stormwater division was working on, and then and then got some volunteers to help to see it through, to help actually plant the plants in there. So, and then we've been having some timely rain this spring, so it's been helpful for that. We've been getting kind of regular doses of rain, so that's that rain garden then has been able to provide some increased water quality benefits then to the receiving water, which is straight river ultimately.
We haven't had to do an odd and even watering.
We do have currently watering restrictions are in place, and those are always in place, and that information is on the website as well. And it is an odd even calendar day based upon your address, and with a Monday, I believe, being no watering, and then there's the rest of the days it alternates back and forth. But yes, those are a seasonal thing that we implement to try and help conserve water, to make sure that we have adequate supply.
But I mean, I haven't watered my yard at all, and it's green.
Yeah.
And it's early August, which is pretty rare. It's usually brown, you know.
That is correct. That's one of I was just having a discussion with someone about that yesterday, and the mower is still going. Normally it's put away for a little bit,
for
but
a few
it's
weeks.
yeah,
We don't
but
mow.
it's
Late July and early August.
correct. But everything this year, like I said, we were getting timely rain, so it's coming. It keeps coming.
All right. Well, thanks, Travis. I do appreciate your coming in.
All right. Thank you, Gordy. Thanks for having me again. I
Travis
appreciate it.
Block is the Public Works Director for the City of Faribault. The remainder of the week, tomorrow through Friday, will be in Zumbrota with our AM Minnesota show, originating right from the fairgrounds in Zumbrota for the Goodhue County Fair. We'll also be there for breakfast at the fair, 7 until 9 in the morning, tomorrow through Saturday. That concludes